In the beginning, when Yosef and his generation was there, then they would reveal, and it was clear to the Jewish people the difference between them and the Egyptians. And it would be clear the way of the mercy and the way of the kindness of the Jews versus the way of the cruelty and the way of the lack of mercy by the other nations. And therefore, they were very careful when Yosef was still there to be separate. Meaning, between the Jews, how they conduct themselves and how they treat each other, was clear the difference between how they work together versus how the other nations work together. And it was easy to tell the difference. It was easy to be separate from the other nations. However, when Yosef and his whole generation passed away, then what happens? Then the Jewish people of that generation started turning towards the mentality of the Egyptians more and more every day. And their awareness and their knowledge and their perception of how they view the world and with godliness and with spirituality start to diminish. It got to the point where you couldn't tell if the person was Jewish or he was Egyptian. That's how integrated and that's how mixed in they got. People were accepting the fact that they're slaves. They justified themselves. They said, listen, we're going to help build the superpower of the world. The Egyptians also do good. There's also something good about them. We should help them. It's okay. We won't fight back. My son and my grandson and my great-grandchildren will also be slaves. We'll also be doing the same job I have.
Like in America.
However, when they saw the Egyptians, how they enslaved them and how they started being so cruel to them, they started waking up a little bit and realizing this is not what we thought it was. But they didn't come to the understanding that Egyptians are not good for them through the understanding of godliness, of holiness. They understood it through suffering. They understood it through, it's unbearable. They understood it through, we can't handle this anymore. So therefore, it wasn't going to bring the Geulah that way. Right? They had to get their full da'at, their full awareness, their full consciousness of Hashem to be redeemed. They had to go back to how they were when Yosef was alive. So therefore, what they had to do, they had to get to the point, because according to this, the only reason why they started not liking the Egyptians is because of the slavery, because of the cruelty. What if it wouldn't be cruel to you? What if they wouldn't be mean to you? They would have stayed like that. They would have liked it. They would have supported the Egyptians. They would have continued to work with them. So therefore, they needed to what? It had to be a point where they had to realize that it's not for them. They had to go and be disgusted by the behavior of Mitzrayim. They had to go and be pushed away completely, their whole mentality, their whole outlook, their whole way they live their life. And that's only going to happen through the Geulah that Mitzrayim went through. They had to stay in Egypt. They had to see the Egyptians fall through the 10 Makot, how Hashem destroyed them, how HaKadosh Baruch Hu showed that the Jewish people has to be separate from them in their ways, in their thinking, in their methodology, in their mentality. And only then, once their mentality is fixed, then the Geulah would come. That's the whole idea of why Mitzrayim was to purify the Jewish people to be able to receive the Torah. And we're going through the similar thing right now. That a lot of times Jews forget their purpose, Jews forget why they're here. Jews, you start blurring the lines. You look like a goy, he looks like a Jew. You could go to a public school, you could say, let's go do Kiruv. Wait, but where's the Jews? He's Jewish. He's Jewish? This guy's Jewish? I thought he was Spanish. This guy's Jewish, he looks like a goy. He looks like other nations. We lost our identity so much because we became comfortable. We started liking the methodology and the mentality of the goyim around us, of the nations around us. Their mission is different. Our mission is different. We cannot blur the lines. No, I want to make money, and I want to go and build my houses. I have to build my real estate. I have to build my job. I have to build my net worth. I have to build my group of colleagues, group of infrastructure in my business, and then that could take away 40 years of our life. We could go and say, no, America is good. We have to build up America, trust in America, build in America, become more rooted in America. And slowly, a person could become totally lost. and lose his identity as a Jew. And then the cruelty comes. And then the Egyptian slavery comes. And then tragedy comes. And then we wake up and we say, wow, we have to be Jewish. Wow, this is not the main thing. My business comes and goes. If I get kicked out right now because of some invasion, where am I going to go? I have to go to Israel. I have to go to the whole promised land. That's my ultimate mission. This is when Mashiach is going to come, and Yanuka is going to come and say, let's go. I'm going to leave all this behind. So why should I invest so much time in this right now? Why should I invest in all this right now if Chaz v'Shalom one day will come? Anyways, this is all going to disappear. I should invest in what's really for the Atid Lavo, what's really for the future, what's really for Netzach Netzachim, what's really for everlasting. And that's my identity, my ideology, my mentality, my approach to how I'm going to be ready for Olam Haba or not. So therefore, a person has to know that don't get carried away, don't get distracted. The Jews in Egypt got distracted. They convinced themselves that the Egyptians are just. They convinced themselves the Egyptians are doing good. And they had to get a rude wake-up call. We're also getting a rude wake-up call right now. But Rabbi Yanuka says that we could get rid of it all. It could all disappear, depending on if we have the ability to wake up our consciousness and realize and smell the coffee and don't get distracted. This is, in order to wake us up and take us out of the distraction, we start realizing, wow, Israel's the promised land. Wow, we're supposed to be in Israel helping our brothers. Wow, what if the invasion comes here? What are we going to do? People start asking themselves questions they never asked themselves before. They're recentering and reconfiguring their attention and their focus in their life and what they're thinking about because of tragedies like this. But the main thing is not to wait till this happens. And when it does happen, to change immediately. Why? Because we need it to end. And this whole purpose is to Hashem for us to make us reconfigure. So reconfigure now, pick up the phone and say, yes, I woke up, I answered the phone, I changed, I reconfigured myself. And I don't have to wait for more cruelty, Chaz v'Shalom, and more Chaz v'Shalom tragedy to wake us up. Rather, we got the message enough. And that's why we have to be able to go and say, Dai l'tzaratenu, I left my mentality, I'm not going to blur the line, I'm not going to lose my identity, I'm going to stick to it. I'm working in America on the side. I'm part of the society in America, and I'm building my business, and I'm living, Sunday, go out with my family and celebrate, with my colleagues, the Thanksgiving for them that's coming up, and I do all the, things that Americans do on the side. But the main thing is, I'm learning, I'm praying, I'm with the Jewish people united, I feel their pain, and I remember that in the back of my mind, if Eliyahu Nabi comes, Mashiach comes, I remember my focus, and I'm going to say, yes, I will come with you. All this is just on the side. It's not the most important thing. The most important thing is my Jewish identity. And with this, he says, this gets rid of the older Bekat Vigim, and you bring the Geula B'Raham.